My name's Chris.
I'm Kristie.
This is the Washing Up Podcast,
It
and
is.
this week was Pastry Week.
I thought it was Pie Week
No,
because
it
they did
looked
the
like-
life of pie.
It looked like it, and there were lots of pies. Now, I don't really feel, though, that we are qualified to talk about pastry.
Well, we've eaten a lot, but when it comes to the baking of pastry, we may need a little bit of a hand.
It might even help if we had someone who, I don't know, was qualified.
I know,
Pastry.
and freshly qualified so they know all the new stuff.
Bec Pobjie, how you going?
Hello, I am well, thank you.
So nice to have you back. It's so nice to have you back on the show.
Great to be back.
Studio
I
audience.
love those sound effects, Kristie. Thank you.
Yeah.
She's a sound effects demon.
Full effort there.
So live studio audience. Oh,
What was that from the studio audience?
that's the canned laughter.
That wasn't canned laughter. It looked like someone got a chill.
Oh,
Oh.
press the wrong button.
Yeah,
That needs work.
wrong button on the soundboard. Michael Winslow would be disappointed. Anyway, so, yeah, Pastry Week. Now, as somebody who's worked a fair bit with pastry, what did you think of Pastry Week in general before we get into the challenges?
Well, I thought it was a bit samey, really. I feel like we've seen all of this before. They go back to the hot water crust. They go to pies. Like, I don't know, do something else.
Yeah, I mean, I did flash back to Tudor Week.
So if you were setting up the bakes, what would you be doing, Bec? What would you be setting?
Well, before we get to that, though, I do like that they were inventive with the pies. Like, they made them a bit different with the stuff that they had to have on the top.
Some of them are really different, but we'll come to that in a minute. There were some interesting blends.
They were, and it was good that they had to do, you know, the pictures on the top. So I did like that part. So, I mean, I guess that wasn't samey. I'm being a bit judgmental, I guess.
No, but there was a bit samey in terms of the type of pastry and the style of thing they did. Like
Yeah.
decorations on top. I mean, you know, as some people have seen on our social media accounts, I make a pie and I write "Hi Kristie" on it in pastry. That doesn't necessarily mean that the pastry that I've used, which is usually store-bought, is inventive. It just means I can cut some letters out.
But it's still showing technique, I guess, because you've got to be able to decorate with pastry and have it come out and like if you cut out a pastry tree and then when you get it out of the oven, it looks like a penis. Like, I may not have done that.
Well, that's where you would say, like they all say, "Oh, I was meant to do that.
Yes.
I was meant to put a penis on my pie."
And wasn't it nice, before we get into it, wasn't it nice to see that Sophie's learned the one trick of Bake Off that so many of them don't learn, which is, I meant that.
You totally have to go with that.
If only you left it in, you know, a bit longer there. No. I meant that.
I love how they still say, like, "Oh, maybe they won't notice." It's like, they will notice. They always do. Everyone always notices stuff that you don't want them to notice.
It's the equivalent, whenever they say, you know, maybe they won't notice, it's the equivalent of in MasterChef, I look away for a minute. And the second they say that, you're done for.
Yeah.
You know, I look away for a minute, the kitchen's on fire.
But I did like some of the things like Steve's like Fleetwood Mac. You know, that's a cool theme, except I would have gotten more into the bitter kind of rivalry in Fleetwood Mac and the bad breakups rather than like, you know, the pretty song.
The nice one.
Bake me pies, bake me sweet little pies.
He missed a trick there, didn't
He
he?
really did. I don't know if you want to do a bad breakup in pie form, though. That's probably going to get you eliminated.
Like that, but if you dropped your pie on the ground, you could say, "I meant to do that. That's part of my theme."
This is Stevie Nicks' post rumors.
Exactly. So it could kind of work for you that way. I wonder if he picked that theme just in case, like, "Oh, if I drop my pie, maybe it was meant to be this."
And if he only got 3 pies out and they went, "But you're supposed to make 4," he can say, "Well, it's pre Stevie and Lindsay Fleetwood Mac. It's the original group, and he left."
That's right.
That's why it's only 3 pies. The 4th is an imaginary pie.
Now, Kate had me excited because she's gone, I'm doing John Lennon. I'm like, oh my God, she's going to do Beatles pies because name drop, we saw Paul McCartney last night. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be so amazing. And then she goes, and there was Einstein, and who else did she do?
It was almost like she started.
Amelia Earhart.
That's right.
Well, it was like she was doing the background of Sgt. Pepper, is what she was doing. She wasn't doing the 4 Beatles. She was doing people on the cover of Sgt. Pepper.
So it was a bit disappointing, but I get it, and
yeah, I mean, I guess it was a good theme, like who she admired, I guess. But
my problem with that though was she said when she was doing the John Lennon, and then she's like, I've ruined his eyes. He looks a bit like Noel Gallagher. now knowing Oasis and the fact they built their early career by ripping off the Beatles to the point where one of their children is called Lennon, they would have seen that as a compliment. All you have to do is damage John Lennon's eyes and he becomes a Gallagher.
Maybe John Lennon's not dead. He just reinvented himself as a Gallagher.
So you guys usually pose questions. I'm going to pose a question to you.
Ooh.
If you were to do a themed pie, what would your theme be?
Okay. So I would either do an Austen-themed pie. Actually, yeah, I'd do an Austen-themed pie.
Jane Austen or Stone Cold Steve Austin?
Maybe bit of column A and a column B.
Because a Stone Cold Steve Austin pie would be easy. It would be steak and it would be beer.
Yeah.
That'd go really well.
Simple.
They are perfect. That's perfect to the pie too.
Exactly. It's like a Guinness beef pot pie.
So that would be your theme, or
that is now.
Both going
Can't steal themes, Chris. Think of your own.
No. I have thought of my own. That was it. It was.
My other one would be a Wonder Woman pie, and you could have Greek flavors because, like Wonder Woman's like from a Greek myth ish. Yeah.
You gonna colour the insides?
Yeah. And the outsides, and put glitter on them, and maybe gold dust.
Because you're going to do a Stephen.
I'm going to go full Stephen. Full Stephen on the pie. I don't think Stephen's gone full Stephen on any pie in his life, but
no, I'm going to stick with my Stone Cold Steve Austin theme now because legitimately I can't think of anything better than that.
It'd be a great pie. See, mine would have to have like lamb and feta and maybe like
no, I know how I theme it.
What?
I know how I theme it, and Bec will get this. You won't because you're not a wrestling fan. Bec, however, will get this.
Yeah,
it's 4 pies, right?
Yeah.
So the first one is in the shape of a W. The second one is in the shape of a H. The third one is in the shape of an A, and the fourth one is in the shape of a T. So it is a Stone Cold Steve Austin pie shaped like what? Which is perfect for Austin. There was a period in his career where he went through the what when everyone would say something.
Was he hard of hearing? Did he need like a ear? Like, did he need to become?
You almost said, did he need an ear infection?
It's got a cochlear implant or something.
So Yan made pies.
She did science pies.
They did, and it was disappointing because they're pies. And she was all sciencey with like the filling to pastry, like doing all of her equations. And I'm like, holy shit, like that's really intense pie making.
But they did say that her pastry was really good, like it was good, flaky, crispy pastry. So
that is true, but her filling didn't quite.
She didn't
cut it, and I had the feeling it wouldn't because it was just big chunks of meat. Like it had no other supporting features.
It was a Stone Cold Steve Austin pie. No, I like
retire. You're just going to tie everything into Stone Cold Steve Austin now.
Well, I wasn't before, but
you are now.
Now we're segueing. No. Look. There's no secret. I think Yan's amazing. I love Yan.
You just liked it that she was making space pie.
Yeah,
space pie.
She was making space pies. But I was really disappointed. I was disappointed it didn't turn out the way that she wanted it to. And we'll talk about her later challenges, which I think came out brilliant.
So that's the thing. Like everyone always has such grand plans, and then it's like, it didn't work out.
It's always bad when they have like ridiculous level plans for all the pies, and again, Pie Week just brings back memories for me of Sweary Canary in the Australian tent dropping the triple stacked pie.
But did you like it was so British, they come back, like Yan goes, oh bum, can I say bum? And it's like, well,
can I say bum? Cut to Fee in the tent for Australia going, oh fuck.
See, that would be me. Like, they would have to bleep continuously because of me, because I'd just be swearing in the background.
They just essentially think you're Beaker from from the
It'd
Muppets.
just be a continuous beep. Like, no one else would be able to get anything in. It'd just be over the top of everyone else, just a beep.
You're a walking test pattern.
I always thought that the Australian producers, the only thing they got wrong with that series of Bake Off was when Fee dropped the pies and swore her head off. They let that stay on, which was brilliant. But where they missed the trick was they needed a camera outside the shed with all the birds like scattering and flying away as you just hear this really loud, like in the episode of The Simpsons and Who Shot Mr. Burns, the first one, where Homer walks outside and swears and the birds all scatter.
Yes.
So that's what was missing. Now, Sophie made the Four Seasons decorative pies, which started me singing "Oh What a Night," December '63.
I just started to, I'll be yours in winter.
Yeah, you started,
I just went Grease 2 on it.
you started singing Grease 2. Stacey made a love theme, which is...
She made some
It looked pretty, though. It looked nice.
Stacey made some questionable decisions tonight. She made some very questionable choices.
She did, and I think she stayed in by the skin of her teeth.
I think she stayed in because of Julia's overall weekend.
But then when she was getting judged, we saw the divide in the different tastes between Prue and Paul, and that's Prue thought her mince was a bit stodgy, whereas Paul loved it. He was like, yep, that's a good northern pie. He just like to wrap his face around it.
And yeah, I think it's one thing that is really cool about this series is that you've got a genuine dissent between Paul and Prue on a lot of things. You don't have the sameness that you used to get from... I mean, Paul and Mary would disagree, but they disagree on small elements but agree overall. Whereas Paul and Prue have different tastes, which I think makes for a better show.
Yes, but they both like Portuguese tarts, in which we'll get to shortly, but not quite yet.
Now, I'm going to let you talk about the one in a minute. I just very quickly want to mention Julia's pies from the tree. Bec, now, it's not pastry as such, so it may be out of your area of expertise, but grapes.
Don't grow on trees.
Thank you.
I know they don't grow on trees.
Thank you, because the bemused look on everyone's face was, what? Why grapes? And she's like, they grow on my tree. And it was like, what?
Haven't you heard that great Marvin Gaye song? Well, I heard it on the grape tree. And I knew she was cheating on me. honey. Like, famous song. You should know it.
That set her up for a fall. Yeah. Now, I'm going to let you, Kristie, and if you want to, Bec, please, but you can talk about Liam. Go.
Liam's just so awesome. So
I love Liam.
He is. I mean, it is a bit disappointing that he's a Man U fan. I mean, okay, that's terrible. But, you know, I really liked it that he went out of his way to make a little pitch to put his pies on, you know, like just he had his...
He does. He goes that little extra effort.
Yeah, and he shouldn't be, like, penalised for it. Like, okay, maybe he doesn't deserve extra marks, but he shouldn't be penalised just because he's gone, you know what, I'm going to have a little bit more enthusiasm about what I'm doing. Someone's sitting back here, leaning against his chair, looking at me like, no.
Oh.
Okay, so...
But it was Tasty Pie. He made Tasty Pie.
You've been got to by Channel 4 and their commercialism. Right, I'm about the traditional. I'm about the traditional nature of this first bake. And the traditional nature of this first bake is as bland as humanly fucking possible.
You know who you essentially are at the moment?
Who?
You're the Bob Catter of this podcast.
No, I'm not.
I'm for the traditional definition of pie and presentation.
I'm not talking about light and ethereal pies, okay? I'm not talking about... And whatever the hell else it was that he said at the point where he was yelling at a cloud. So... Moving past that, let's get on to the technical. Now, my biggest issue with the technical was it made me realise that we don't have a bread top bakery nearby. And that was a disappointment because I really, really could do with some Portuguese custard tarts. Like now, this very second.
You should come live near me. We have one.
Okay, fine. Yeah. We're there.
I remember the first time I had one of those tarts. It was at a coffee cart at UNSW when I was working there. And the guy gave it to me for free because I used to buy coffee from there all the time.
So he bribed you with custard tarts?
Yes. He wasn't hitting on me or anything. That was the job of other people.
Hang on. Other people had jobs to hit on you?
Yes. Because I always went there and I'd buy a Friand. He goes, well, try one of these. And he changed my life.
He changed your life by offering you a Portuguese custard tart.
Because all I heard was custard tart first, and all I was thinking of was those shitty ones you get from like the corner store.
Oh, the ones where you shake them and it wobbles in a way that doesn't look like natural.
It looks like boobs, like custard boob.
Sort of. I get where you're going with it. It looks like surface tension hasn't been broken.
Yes. So yeah, revolutionised my life. Anyway, back at the ranch.
So
who else are we talking about?
My question to Bec,
another one,
is Rough Puff. Now, normally in series of Bake Off, they whinge because they're not allowed to make a Rough Puff.
Mm.
In this series, they said Rough Puff, and I thought Julia was going to break down. Like, what
would you prefer, Bec?
Yeah, what would you prefer?
Elimination.
And what's the issue with all these people carrying on about Rough Puff?
Well, I don't know why they carry on. Rough Puff is much easier.
Yeah.
Like, I guess that's why they carry on because, Rough Puff is much easier. It's quicker. It's not as long, like, the lamination process. Because
maybe she'd been working a long time on her book turns, like her book. Is it called a book fold turn?
There's different folds that you can do as well. So puff pastry is really technical. Really technical.
There's a reason I buy it.
Exactly.
There's a reason why.
The reason why most people buy it because it's pastry's temperamental. Like, it's the temperature. You can't touch it too much. You can't use the processor too much if you do it in the food processor. Same
like the Noel Gallagher.
You can do it in a mixer with a dough hook. Like, there's just so many different methods, and if you choose the wrong one, then you're going to have shit pastry.
Do you mean the wrong method as in, like, overhandling it and batting it down so you lose every single...
like, for example, I don't know.
What Julia did?
Yes. Oh,
Julia kept on beating up the same circle over and over and over again, going, I don't know why it's not working. It's like, there's overworking it, and then there's what you're doing.
Yeah, which is like tearing it, but then just squishing it all back together, and then like that totally defeats the purpose of a puff pastry. Like, yeah, you can do that with short crust pastry. It will be shit because you've overworked it, but doing that with puff pastry is just insane. I don't know what she was thinking.
And you knew it had gone badly when they got to the tasting, and Paul Hollywood grabs it, takes like a bite, didn't even finish his bite, and just threw it back at the thing and went, short crust.
I'm surprised he didn't bring out like a bottle of gasoline, tipped it over it and set it on fire.
I've improved it dramatically. And the other one that confused me in this challenge was Stacey. Now, she folded...
Staceys Pies did not have it going on.
No, they didn't. She folded it and folded it and folded it, then did all the cuts, then realised they'd folded it the wrong way, but went, oh, well.
Okay.
But then she put it in the tins and didn't bother to spread it out. Like, she thought that it was naturally just going to spread to the side of the tin.
She kind of just blobbed it in there and thought some magic elf would come and it would all be fine once she put it in. Like, she must think she has a magic oven. I don't know. I'm like, what are you doing?
I couldn't just spread your pastry. See, my thought process on that was, you've got to fill it with custard. Now, surely at the point where you're pouring custard over a blob, you're realising this probably isn't going to work.
No. Like, she kind of just made a little thimble and just thought, oh, yeah,
that's what she did.
That's probably right.
It's like a little well. It's like a little bit of custard. That'll expand out.
It's like dehydrated tart. Just add some water.
Like,
suddenly it's Back to the Future 2, the pizza.
I've not seen a Portuguese tart before. Like, you know the word tart. Like, you know kind of what it's going to look like. How did she even think that what she was doing was going to end in that result? Like,
even if you just assume it's like a normal tart, when you buy like a case in the shop or something like that, it's been blind baked. So at the very least, you should have screwed up by blind baking it. Not by not even spreading it out there.
Do you think she was going for a mousse-bouche Portuguese tarts? Just like little single mouth bites.
And a mousse-bouche Portuguese tart. No, because she felt like was filling it up with custard going, it wasn't going to work. No, it just was disappointment and sadness.
Oh, so much.
What wasn't disappointment and sadness, though? Yans. They look really good.
No, she was a star.
Oh. Hers looked amazing.
So good.
Sophie's consistent. For me, Sophie's just really consistent.
And she always looks calm.
Yeah. She doesn't necessarily produce the blow-away bake. But
no, she's average.
Yeah, she's
traveling along that, average line.
She's never going to be at threat of being eliminated. She's just always going to be in the top couple.
Yeah, but she's not sprinkling glitter on it. Like I don't
no,
see her
Stephen, on the other hand,
glittering
glitter
her fruit.
Kate had an interesting evening.
They look like black hole suns.
Yeah, I was waiting for Soundgarden to start.
Noel Gallagher, Noel Fielding coming along going, I like your little tribute there to a little band that might have lost their signal.
Soundgarden, Black Hole Sun.
This is for you, Chris Cornell. Thank you.
It was really, they were really dark.
They were so dark. They were bad.
And there was no trying to cover it or maybe remove it. No, just they're burnt.
I think she knew that she was, past the point of return. There was really nothing she could do. She couldn't even sprinkle icing sugar over the top because that's not what you meant.
I would have tried.
There was no hiding that.
Just piped a bit of extra raw custard over the top. Just spread it out.
The raw custard over the top would have been fine. I wouldn't have had a problem with that. I thought it would have worked quite well. But so the overall order, just for everyone playing along at home, because I know you're all really keen on what the exact order was. Julia was 7th. You had Stacey at 6th, which is, again, Stacey didn't have a brilliant evening herself. Yeah. Kate was 5th. Liam was 4th.
Yeah.
Then 3rd was Stephen. 2nd was Sophie, and Yan was 1st. And Yan was quite a distant 1st in this one. She really did nail it.
Yeah.
Now,
and she saved her ass.
Yeah.
After her failed science pies.
Now the showstopper.
Yes.
Was a family-sized hand-raised pie. Now
I got this pie when I was 3 years old. I didn't hand-raised it myself. That's how I thought it was going to go down.
That's how you thought it was going down?
Yeah.
It would have made sense. So I loved Yan's version of that, which was where there's a hand-raised pie, and she's like, I like the idea of it being hand-raised, like you've paid through its tuition. I love Yan. Just the personality as well, apart from the baking ability, just the personality.
This is the washing up, not the Yan fan club. That's your other podcast, I presume.
The Yan fan club.
The Yan fan club.
Yeah, but it's a tribute to all Yans. Again, Martin Yan gets most of the time. It's been great to have Yan come along for Bake Off because it's just been about Martin Yan, and I need some more time to film.
And you do extend it to Yam Yam.
Yeah, I do. I need to. What else can I do?
Yeah.
So my first comment was so much lard. So very much lard.
Mm-hmm.
Lard as far as the eye could see, really.
Yes.
Now, I thought we talked about this in the lead up. There was some very intriguing pie flavors. Sophie went with venison, wild boar, and guinea fowl.
Yeah, well, that's an old favourite. It's a game pie.
It's almost like she watched Tudor Week and made a pie from Tudor Week, with venison, wild boar, and guinea fowl. I'm pretty sure that's the exact dish. I'm pretty sure it's exact. But again, it's Sophie, so she did it well. And what did you think about
de-juice it? She had to milk her pie.
I like the syringe removal of the liquid. That was really, very interesting. What did you think, by the way, of having to top it with the fruits?
Well, I guess that was their way of putting a twist on it, so it wasn't so samey, but it was still samey. But, I guess it was good to have that little bit of a difference.
The same, but different.
Yeah, same, but different. Yeah. So I guess, I don't know. Not everyone likes fruit and savoury things together, especially meat. I know that's a big turn off for a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm not a massive fan of it.
I like it.
I like it. I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Just you. Because you have your cranberries with your turkey.
I don't have turkey, so.
Apricot with lamb, if you're going Middle Eastern.
I just have more lamb.
Would you like some lamb with your lamb?
I want some lamb on my lamb.
Yes.
Don't eat no meat. That's okay. Amy Clem. So Stephen went. Stephen, we've talked about this in the last couple of episodes, Bec, but Stephen, for me, makes things that look amazing.
Yes.
But they don't necessarily taste very good.
No.
And tonight was another example. Turkey pancetta, Brussels sprouts, and chestnuts.
He had a really, really strong future in, like, movie prop food. Because, you know, it doesn't have to taste good. It just has to look really good.
But that sounds like it should be flavourful. So I'm kind of wondering where he went wrong.
I'm thinking the
glitter. Do you think the glitter detracted from the taste?
Possible.
I thought personally...
He bedazzled his pie, essentially.
I thought personally the sprouts maybe with a bit of an issue there too, because especially if the turkey flavour sort of started to bleed through, the sprouts probably would have taken on the turkey flavour. And yet the stuffing, which obviously takes on the turkey flavour as well. So it just basically would have tasted like it was a thick turkey pie with not much else going on. And you're supposed to have all these different textures and flavours going on. And didn't do it.
Yeah.
Now, I'll mention...
It would have been good, though.
Yeah, well, I'll mention Yan now because I'll get that out of the way because, you know, the Yan show. However...
Here we go, the Yan fan.
However, give her credit. Her checkerboard pie was amazing.
Fantastic.
And it included chorizo.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So obviously...
Conceding, fine, fan away.
Chorizo chicken black pudding. Now Yan also did something that created quite a bit of a stir within the tent today.
She was an innie.
She was an innie.
Outie.
Mm.
So pastry on the inside versus pastry on the outside. Now, I'm assuming that you would fall as a pastry on the outside kind of person, Bec?
Well, I've never made a hand-raised pie before, but if I was doing it, I would do it that way.
Yeah. Now, the thinking behind it is about basically waterproofing.
Mm-hmm.
That's the general gist of what they were doing. Although, as Stephen then pointed out, you need a hole somewhere. So otherwise, it's going to suction and you're never getting that bloody thing out. But, yeah, Yan did it on the inside, but hers seemed to work.
Mm-hmm. Whereas Stacey did hers on the outside and
I don't think the problem
was advising people to do it on the outside. And, okay, Liam did it and it worked. But then she was too busy tending other people's pies. She should have been tending her own pie.
Stacey's
like every good woman.
Stacey made a hat.
She did. A very sad-looking hat.
My other thing with Stacey's one is my concept of a hand-raised pie is supposed to have thick sort of filling as part of the structural integrity of the pie.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to have that. When you're going with egg and spinach and lentils, there's nothing in that pie that's structurally sound. Egg's the closest thing you get to it. So what ended up happening was when she started doing the bake, it collapsed upon itself, and you ended up.
Collapsed before she was collapsing before she even started. Like she was shoving.
Yeah, very true.
Exactly, but if you've got like thicker flavors, you can probably like prop a little bit of it up. Not Stacey. And in the end, what she produced, I'd like to think, was a hat. It looked very much like a broad brim hat. Possibly a bedpan. Who knows?
But yeah, you could tell she was doomed from the beginning.
And like she's watching it and going, yeah, this isn't working.
Yes, but she was trying the whole, I meant to make it look straight on one side and floppy on the other.
But it was where she turned around and went, it's straight over here. And I'm looking at it going, it's not straight anywhere.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
The whole pie is
Peter Allen. It's not straight. Sorry.
Nice work. Kate decided to try to save herself. And I thought what Kate did was actually incredibly clever.
Mm.
Because the big concern that they had was about the liquid within the pie. So first of all, she made the turmeric crust, which is what Liam did as well, and we'll come to Liam in a minute.
Yeah.
But she went with a different crust, which worked quite well. She did the potato curry with onion and mango and chili.
Mm.
Now, it looked amazing, but where I think she was ahead of the curve compared to everyone else was, she was trying to avoid too much liquid in the pie.
Yeah.
So she used potato, which absorbs all the liquid.
It also put her at risk of it being too stodgy, which was,
Could have, but I think she was more worried that it was going to be too runny given it was the curry.
Yeah.
So the potato in there drew a lot of liquid in, which meant that she didn't end up with anything running. And she just needed to be secure. Like Kate just needed to not do something that fell apart.
I just need this to stay together. And
so I thought, and it's not the first time we've seen that either, where you're in absolute trouble. So the next bake, it was last week that Kate did the same thing, wasn't it? Where she went with the basic, simple, it was a grandmother's simple recipe. And just made a really simple recipe, but did it well enough so that she wasn't going home.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting. I think that Kate, unlike a lot of other people in there, is baking strategically.
Fair enough.
Which is not a bad, and that's not a bad thing, and it's not a criticism.
No.
It's clever. It's somebody thinking about the competitive element here and going, I just need to do this.
But that said, she made it look pretty. Like, it was beautiful decoration.
Oh, no, it looked amazing.
Yeah, but I think that's the key. The key is to pick something that's relatively easy but has the wow factor and looks amazing. So that's what I would do as well, because I think that's a smart way. I guess this is a game, really. It's a smart way to play the game.
Yeah, I thought that it's a very clever way to do it. And again, if you were actually getting someone to make you something, would you want them to do something outlandish and crazy that's probably going to fail? Or would you want them to do something that maybe look a little bit simple, but it's going to be really damn good? I'm going with the really damn good.
As long as we see her extend herself, like we can see her skills developing. Yeah. I'm okay with her doing
At this point of the competition, you can get away with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you're in 3 weeks from the end, you can't get away with it. So I think that's where it's going to become interesting.
It'll be interesting to see whether she does try to
extend herself.
Extend herself and go that little bit extra.
Yeah.
Now, we'll go to a good one, and then we'll go to Julia, and then we'll go through what happened during the challenge.
Yes.
So, Liam.
Oh, how good was his pie? And it even had goat in it. And I just love how he's like, this is my grandmother's like Sunday dish. And I'm thinking, oh, it's going to be another roast. And it's like, no, it's a goat curry and there's a salsa on top. And wow.
And it had plantain.
Yeah.
I referred to this pie as Liam Goes Hollywood because he listened to Paul and changed up the way he was doing the pastry.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What did you reckon of the curried goat and fried plantain pie?
Well, I don't know. I've never had either of those things, but it looked amazing. So I would have been willing to give it a go.
I've had goat.
Yes, thanks, Reese. And I did think that he had a good kind of texture mix there too.
And the meat looked really tender, and it wasn't the sauce wasn't too thick. It wasn't too thin. He just did so well.
Yeah, no, he did a really solid job of it, and I thought he did the flavour mixture, and it had what they like. It had a connection to family. It had a connection to something that you would.
And Paul Hollywood's getting a free feed from Liam's grandmother.
I am starting to wonder if Paul Hollywood is just using this series now to get free food.
And when will this be dropped around to my house?
And Prue Leaf's using it to get recipes.
Yeah.
Can I get the recipe to that? Can I get the recipe? Yeah, can I get this? Can I get that? Paul Hollywood's just like, I'm not going to cook it. Someone can come around and cook it for me. It's just free for them.
Yeah.
Now, Julia. Now, so much went wrong.
Yeah, I just see stress. See, I'm doing a meditation teacher training course at the moment, and I just see her in a big ball of stress at the moment, and it's really showing in her bakes and her decisions and her inability to choose and inability to see that her pie tin's got a clip on it.
I was staggered. Because I was watching it thinking, oh, there's a clip. And then when Stephen offered to come over and help, and I'm like, oh, okay, they need help to unfasten it.
That was Jan.
And then I looked down and I looked up and she goes, oh my God, I looked at it and looked at Kristie and I went, did she just work out there was a clip? Like those two ones.
I was sitting there going, what? I don't understand why she's having so much trouble like that. It has a clip on it. Like, it's an easy thing to get off.
Now, she did pastry inside. She had shredded chicken, pear, asparagus with blue cheese. That flavour combination doesn't scream joy.
The 1970s called. wants its
After,
flavour back.
after you're done there, you can go to the fondue and off you go. So,
And her pears on top look really sad. Like,
well, wouldn't you be?
oh,
They didn't look like, they actually, you know what they look like? They look like uncooked dumpf noodle. They just look like the big balls of pastry on top. And she's like, I was preparing a dumpf noodle and this is all I've got. So let's just put it on top. So I like that we saw a bit more help from the contestants this week. We haven't really seen that.
No, we have. We've seen a little bit more of it, a little bit more helping around the tent. But today there was a lot more help.
My favourite one was when Stephen helped Kate.
Yeah.
And Kate's gone, are you allowed to do this? And Stephen looked at her and went, stop me.
Yeah.
That was just really cool. And there were a few other. Yan was going around helping people.
Yeah,
Stacey wasn't worrying. Stacey wasn't worrying about her own bake. She was too busy worrying about everyone else's. Maybe she should have worried about her own because she left the parchment paper inside.
Oh, yes.
Now, I think this was a situation where she was very fortunate that Mary Berry wasn't the judge.
Oh, that would have been a do-do.
Because I think Mary Berry would have put her in for elimination.
Yeah. Well, she was.
Well, I would have.
Stacey.
I would have. Because the second you can't eat it, second there's something that means you can't eat the dish, that usually puts you in severe danger. Paul just glanced straight by it.
He's like, I can pull it out. That's
yeah.
He pulled the paper out and then just went, the rest of this isn't too bad. And it's like, no, there's paper through the middle of it. No. Got a comment on that. But Stacey did also provide us with the dialogue with Noel about patching up your crack.
You don't want a leaky crack?
Don't want a leaky crack.
Don't want a leaky crack. I don't know. Noel Fielding got to be a little bit more Noel Fielding again tonight.
Yes.
It was.
He's like, I was a bit disappointed it wasn't pasty week being a goth.
They're gradually allowing Noel to be Noel.
I hope they let him go full Noel. I love Noel Fielding. If it weren't for him, I'm not sure I would have watched this season. But I'm like, no, it's got now Noel. I'll give it a go.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to point out Sandy Toxvig. So many pie jokes that could have been made. So many, I like eating your pie.
And the fact that she avoided it and instead just focused on her campaign to hit on Kate.
Don't you find Kate a date?
Yeah, and one of her methods of doing it is to hit on her.
Yeah, she's either Kate's wingman or her yenta, which I know is the incorrect words, but as a genteel or gentile, I will say yenta because that's what we think that Jews call their matchmakers. It's not. It's like a
save it for the Jewish podcast.
Yeah, okay.
So,
oy vey.
Oy vey. Save it for the Jewish podcast. Oy vey. It's out next week. By someone else, not us. We don't do one. But no, I love the fact she's got everything you need, guys. What's going on? Like she's a blacksmith and occupational health and safety, and she bakes. You know, what's not to love?
Just not hot water bake. What's it called? Hot crust.
Hot water crust.
Yeah, not hot water crust. Basically.
Yeah, she said she's never baked one before, and I'm like, maybe just knock off the blacksmithing for the week.
I would have thought as a blacksmith, she probably would have. That's the sort of thing that you then expect. Maybe the blacksmith does those sorts of old worldy pies.
Maybe she's a modern blacksmith.
A modern blacksmith.
It's all about minimalism and
substance is key.
Exactly. Like that one perfect bite.
Now, speaking of the hosts and the judges, I do have a bone to pick with the judges this week.
Oh.
Right. It's not homemade. It's fucking rustic. And secondly, Paul, it was informal. You can say it, Paul. It was informal.
This is what Mary Berry would do. Okay, these are a few things that we've missed because Mary Berry's not there. She would have been concerned about soggy bottoms. That would have been one of the first things that came out of her mouth at the beginning of Pie Week. Oh, make sure there's no soggy bottoms. There would have been a few innuendos, a few giggles, and a few winks. No, none of that. Then there would have been the whole, that's a bit informal, looking at Staceys Pie. No one wants to have their pie scrutinised by Mary Berry and called informal.
No one wants an informal Mary Berry pie.
Yes, and again, rustic.
And this week as well, they let us all down because the booze.
No booze.
Right, I'm starting to feel like they're letting go of Mary Berry. No letting go of Mary Berry.
Maybe they finished their liquor cabinet. Maybe that's what Stace's problem was is that she got through the liquor cabinet last week and there's nothing left. She's like, I'm fucking out of rum. What am I going to do? Her mince pie at the beginning was essentially going to be a vodka martini pie. But
The liquor cabinet's gone.
the liquor cabinet's empty. Mary Breeze come and reclaimed it.
Oh, it's like my favourite Noel Fielding line from tonight too was when Julia offered him the raw meat in the pie for the first one. Because, of course, Julia decided to, one of her failings in her first set of pies was to bake the thing with raw meat and hope that it cooked. And she offers the raw meat to Noel, and he's like, no, I'm not like some cat sitting at the back, eating through dumpster meat. And I'm like a fox just rummaging through like uncooked meat. That's not me. And then I had this image of Noel Fielding in like a fox onesie sitting next to the bin outside eating raw meat.
That's what he does Saturday nights.
And you can picture that.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Now, how difficult, Bec, is this achievement? Julia managed to have an overdone middle and underdone pastry. Now, how?
I actually don't know. I assume...
Well, what good are you? We bring you on as our pastry expert. No, I'm kidding.
Fine, be that way.
Continue.
No, I can only assume it's because her pastry was too thick, so it created too much of an insulation on the inside. So it caused the heat to overcook. Of course, and I think, didn't we see her popping her meat into the oven beforehand?
Oh, yes, she might be. I think that was in response to her first challenge where she did one with the raw meat. She went, I'll cook a bit of it.
Yeah, because I think
my
she
sushi pie.
Pre-cooked her meat, and then, of course, it needed more cooking, and, of course, she couldn't cook it
because she burnt the outside.
Ran out of time, so I think that's why.
The stupid part about it is if she'd actually flipped the way that she did the first and the last challenges, she may have been okay.
Yes.
Because she should have pre-cooked the meat for the first one, and she shouldn't have pre-cooked it for the second one.
Yes.
It's like she got it backwards.
Yes.
The whole thing back. But it's quite an achievement to have overdone middle and underdone pastry.
Well, yeah, it's a special kind of talent.
And you can see the achievement, like the look of achievement on the judges, like that's a new kind of special.
But I love how at the end she was saying she was pleased with the comments. It's like, what?
Well, you've got overcooked middle, underdone outside. You average it out. It's a perfect pie.
I don't know if she was listening to her comments.
I don't. Maybe she was listening to someone else's comments and thought that was about her pie.
Well, Liam was nearby.
Yeah, because her comments were not that great on her pie, so I was kind of sitting there a little bit confused.
And I mean, Brendan on Twitter said the same thing. He's like, did she remotely listen to what was just said about her stuff? Because she turned around and talked about how wonderful she thought it was, and it's like, no.
Maybe she was in England at that point. Because she was in denial. Oh, yeah. There we go.
Oh, that hurt.
Enjoy, people.
That hurt.
Here all night.
So, Star Baker.
Liam! I thought it was going to be Sophie, and then bam!
I thought it was
second encore.
I thought it was Yan, and that's not just because I'm a huge Yan fan.
No, she fucked up the first bake. So Yan will get her time. But tonight, it was Liam. Yeah. He was Star Baker.
I thought it was Yan. But anyway, look, Liam did a good job. I'm not saying he didn't. I just thought that it was Yan. But anyway, what do I know? Apparently nothing. Well done, Liam. Now, the last part of this for me was Julia going home wasn't unexpected.
Sandy.
I thought it was a little bit unexpected. I really expected it to be Stacey.
No, I thought it was Julia because I thought Julia just messed up all three. And Stacey's first one was okay. And so Stacey was saved because Julia just messed up all three challenges. So the fact that Stacey did something in the first one that wasn't horrible,
I guess,
saved her.
But yes, sorry to cut you off. Sandy was very upset.
What was unexpected was she didn't even get to announce it and she was already starting to cry.
I know. And that kind of almost set me off, and I'm like, no. I
was the same. I'm going to stop this, Sandy. I can't. This is hard enough.
And again, it's not a criticism of Sandy Toxic. I like seeing like the emotion of, because they have bonded in there.
And it's genuine and it was authentic.
But it was also very unusual because for me, the reason it was unusual was Julia, she's a good baker, but we're also not near the business end yet.
No.
We've still got 7 bakers left in the tent. And for Julia to go home as like 7 from the end, or 7th place, and you're like, yeah, okay, but there's 10 of them. I don't know. I found it was just unusual, the timing of it. Not the crying and not being upset that she went home, but just I thought that
it's too early.
It's really early.
It's too soon,
What's going to happen when we get to like 4th and the person who doesn't make the grand final?
Sandy comes out in full black with a veil.
It's a procession.
Yes. They're getting New Orleans band.
A dirge on the way and a jazz wake on the way out. And the bakes that fail are put in the back of like a hearse and driven away from the tent.
There's a full, like line of professional wailers.
and in contrast to that, Noel gets to read out the really good bit, and he's got like a full circus performance going on. And, like there's trapeze artists and
Cirque du Soleil.
Cirque du Soleil present Cake. The latest performance. So
Cirque du Soleil get baked with no feeling. That'd be a completely different show.
The last thing before we start wrapping it up, the last part about this was I find it interesting. They're sending Sandy Togsvig to the really boring interviews. And meanwhile, the only one they've sent Noel Fielding to remains Amsterdam.
His contract.
Is that a coincidence? I don't think so. Sandy's gone and done the really serious interviews. Like this week, she did the fairly serious one about how do you make these Portuguese egg tarts, and then Noel Fielding's one was let's go to Amsterdam.
I reckon he'll be in Italy though for next week.
Maybe they wanted to send Noel to more than one place, but he just got Amsterdam was a big trip.
Yeah, the volcano in Bali is really wreaking havoc.
Stopping me getting out of Amsterdam. So, Italian week next week.
Yes.
I'm intrigued by Italian, especially we Australian bake-off people. For anyone who happens to be listening in the UK, there are a few of you, and hello. You must think we're really weird. But
good on you for listening.
Thank you for that. Greatly appreciated.
Us colonies really appreciate
the Showstopper Challenge.
Mother country.
For next week.
Yes.
We here in Australia, we recognise that damn challenge.
Oh, yeah. We've seen those rolls.
We've seen that fold after fold after fold after fold. That may have been a grand final bake.
May have.
So, which continues the theory we put forward on the podcast with Liesl the other day. And for those people who are listening to this who didn't listen to our Liesl episode, what are you doing?
Get back
Go
there.
Listen to it. It's a great chat.
It's awesome. Liesl's awesome.
Well, we put forward the theory.
Stop now. Don't listen to this part. Go listen to Liesl. Then come back.
Well, we put forward the theory that we reckon British Bake Off this year is borrowing quite heavily from Australian Bake Off.
Yeah, next week they bring out Maggie beer.
Yeah, next week is the Verjuice Challenge.
With Moran lamb. Verjuice and Moran lamb.
That should have been the pie.
Yes.
Verjuice and Moran lamb pie. That would have been so good.
Verjuice Moran lamb burger.
Never again with the burger challenge. Never again with the burger challenge. It's a sore spot, Stan.
It's going to be a hot dog challenge this year, isn't it? Or this year / next year.
Whatever year they're showing Bake Off 2017.
Yeah.
2019, I believe, is when it's going to end up airing finally. Yeah. So, I don't know. Are we excited for Italian Week?
Look, it could be exciting. It'd be interesting to see what they do with, pizza and...
Yeah, pizza's going to be the one for me that I don't know how I'm going to react.
Yeah.
It's a bit like we're talking about burgers and we're talking about... I don't know how I'm going to go with Pizza Week, Pizza Challenge for the week.
I'm always interested in the whole, doing a savoury before you do a sweet as well. Like the savoury pie tonight, that was fine because of the infusion of the flavours and smell of the savoury into the sweet cakes.
And they did also focus on the texture of the pastry, though. What I'm worried about with the pizza is, are they going to focus on the base or are they going to focus on the topping?
Maybe they'll force
it has to be a bit of both.
Well, it has to be a bit of both, but the base should carry more of a weighting.
But will
Well,
they?
yeah, because it's Bake Off.
Yeah.
But the important question is, who do you think is pro and who do you think is anti-pineapple on pizza out of Prue and Paul?
Paul Hollywood strikes me as the sort of person who'd be pro-pineapple.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's got taste.
I think that Paul Hollywood's more, it's more, you can imagine Paul Hollywood coming in at 3 a.m. after a big night
Smashing a Supreme
and just smashing a Supreme pizza
with pineapple.
with pineapple. Whereas,
Extra pineapple.
whereas
Or barbecue chicken with pineapple.
are you just projecting now?
Maybe. I may have organised our dinner for tomorrow night, that's all. Anyway.
It's handy for me to know that. No, it'll be an interesting week. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with it. I'm interested to see how the pizza thing goes.
Mm.
But speaking of next week, we should probably wrap this week up so we can get to next week.
Yes.
So thank you very much, Bec. As always, it is always a pleasure.
As always.
Yeah, you're awesome.
So,
Stop.
do you have anything to vaguely plug or anything you want people to go check out?
No, I don't. I'm plugless.
You're plugless.
Oh,
Plugless.
you're like my bath every time I want to go and have a bath.
Plugless.
Plugless.
So, no, I mean, it's fantastic to be able to get to have a chat, obviously, and the audience definitely likes having you on. We get a lot of comments. So, yeah.
And you can find Bec on Twitter.
You can find her on the Twits.
In the Twitterverse.
And you can find her-
I'm all over the shop.
and she's on the Instagram, and the Instagram is fantastic
Oh, have you got MySpace?
because you know the baked goods and stuff like
Yeah, yeah.
What about Foursquare? Are you on 4chan?
that. Foursquare.
Do you have
My
a listing
face.
on True Local?
She's on my face. LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
No, I'm not on LinkedIn. I've never been on LinkedIn.
Nobody's on LinkedIn.
I hate
No.
LinkedIn because every time at work, like if someone like just suddenly nominates you, then you just keep getting these like really kind of like assertively aggressive reminders that someone wants to link up with you on LinkedIn, and it's like, I don't like that person. They were a colleague for a very brief period of time, and I don't want to see them again. Stop this, and you can't. They're just relentless.
Oh, I'm glad I'm not part of it then.
So that'll be the LinkedIn.
Very-
That'll be the LinkedIn podcast, which will be coming to probably your email when we give you a notification that we've added you to the LinkedIn podcast. So anyway, this is just to remind you of the washing up. I've still been Chris.
I'm still being Kristie.
That's been Bec.
That has been. Thank you.
And
Thanks, guys.
and we will talk to you all later.
Bye.
Bye.